Hello, 4L scholars. So what you're looking at right now is the video to go along with our noun endings review practice. So this is your grammar practice for this first little intro section on nouns. What we're going to do is just get some practice in declining nouns, which is, chopping the endings off, adding new ones to create new meaning. We're going to do the first few of them real time here so you can see. And then at the end, what I'll do is instead of just, letting you watch me do all of them, I'll just show you the completed key at the end so you can pause the video and check your work yourself. So on the front side, we have what you see here, which is part one, where your job is to decline each of the noun in the requested form. On the back side of the page, we have part two, where your job is really just to do one thing: identify what declension it belongs to. Okay? So we'll do a few from the front and then a few from the back, and then I will share the answers with you. And when you're checking your work, you can just pause the video and hopefully zoom in and see those answers. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so as you see in the directions, using your grammar notes, decline each noun in the requested case and number. Okay? And then I because I'm so generous, I give you the declension already. Like on the back, you have to figure it out for yourself. But on the front, I just tell you what declension it is. So that's what these numbers in parentheses here are. First declension, second declension, third, and so on. So let's go ahead and get started. Our first one is patria patriae. That pattern shows us that it's first declension. Okay? And we're going to change it. We're going to decline this noun in the plural genitive, or the genitive plural. So using your noun endings charts from last time, or just your brain pulling those answers out, you can cross-reference everything, put the pieces together, and get the right answer. The most important thing to remember when you're declining nouns is it's really tempting to only look at the first entry here, the nominative singular, but you really got to get in the habit of looking at the genitive singular, okay, which is the second of your vocab entry. So, going through number one, we want the genitive plural, so we go to our genitive singular, we chop off that ending, and then we write out our base, or our stem, which is patre. The base or the stem is just the chunk without the ending on it, okay? And then we're going to add our genitive plural ending for the first declension. If you look at your chart, the genitive plural ending for the first declension, genitive plural, is arum. So our answer is patri arum. Okay? We can do the same thing with number two. Number two happens to be second declension when we see the pattern here, us, e, o, and so forth. So we have amicus, amici. We want it to be singular accusative. So we go to our genitive singular, chop off that ending. We can write our base over here. And then, again, if you want to look at your chart, second declension masculine, accusative singular ending, So we have amic, Okay. So that strategy will work for almost every single one. The only times that it doesn't is there are a very small number of times where you actually don't even have to go that far. For instance, if you look at number four, we have a third declension noun, okay? And third declension nouns really are most of the reason that we always have to look at the genitive singular. Because as you remember from the last video, the nominative singular for a third declension noun can look like anything. So usually you want to look at the genitive singular. The thing is, if I ask you, to write the nominative singular over here, well, all of a sudden you don't actually even have to look at the genitive because this is the nominative singular. Okay? So that time you get to skip a step. Nominative singular is rex. Okay? So there are a few on here that are a little bit tricky, deceptively tricky, I suppose. But once you, if you follow those strategies, you can do that for 99% of these, and you'll be able to get to the correct answer. What I will go ahead and do is I'll share the completed sheet with you right now. Again, you can pause the video. You can zoom in. Actually, you know what I'll do is I'll keep it zoomed in like this, and I'll just slowly move the camera. And again, you can pause at any particular part that you need to check your answers. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and look at part 2. So in part 2 on the back, again, what we're doing is you're just going to tell me what declension each of these nouns is. On the front, I gave you the declension. Here you just have to figure it out yourself, and that's it. You're done once you figure that out. So remember, there are 5 declensions. And you can always, 100% of the time, tell what declension it is by looking at the genitive singular. So again, we have the nominative singular, genitive singular, and then the gender of the noun. Okay, so if you have a noun that goes yan, you, I, so I, if you look at at your noun chart, there's only one declension where the genitive singular is I. It's first. So your answer here, first declension. So you can just write a 1. Okay. Number 2 is actually kind of deceptively tricky. But if you ignore the nominative singular for a minute and just look at the genitive singular, you'll notice it's a long I. Well, there's only one declension in Latin where the genitive singular is long I, and it's second. Okay? Actually, whether it's masculine or neuter doesn't matter because the genitive singular of those is the same in the second declension. They're in the same family. So, there we go. Some of you might be looking at this one and thinking, wait a second, I thought the nominative singular for a second declension masculine noun was us. Well, remember there's that really small number of, well, actually really important nouns that instead of us, they end in er. Puer is another one, the word for boy. So there are a few of these, but the genitive singular is what tells you what declension it is. All right, and then looking at this one here, hostis, hostis. Okay, hostis, hostis, masculine. Nominative singular and genitive singular here actually look exactly the same, but that's kind of weird, but it doesn't really matter because all we're doing is looking at the genitive singular, and it's is, short is. We know this is genitive singular, so we look at our chart, and once again, there is only one declension where the genitive singular is short is, third. So we would write a 3. You notice the same thing with the next one, pectus, pectoris. If you just look at the nominative singular, you might get confused because we see that us in the second declension, in the nominative singular anyway. We actually see it in a couple other declensions. But we don't care about what the nominative is right now. We want to know what the genitive singular is because that'll tell us what declension we have. Okay, so we ignore the nominative singular, look at the genitive singular. If it ends in short is, well, it's the same as this one. short is, third declension. Okay? And we'll look at one more here, and then we'll do what we did just a second ago and share all the answers with you. So you can just pause and double check your work. All right, so looking at number 5, we have race ready. This is possibly a little confusing if you don't remember all of your endings, but looking at your endings chart, if you have a noun where the nominative singular ends in ace, and the genitive singular ends in e, there's really only one declension that's true for. Now, you gotta be careful here, like I said, because if you only look at the long I, you might get confused, right? Because after all, second declension does that. But if you look at your chart, like I said, the ending isn't just long I, it's e, right? It's these two letters together. When that happens, this is the genitive singular for the fifth declension. Okay? So, as I said, I'm going to go ahead and share those answers with you now. We'll do it just like we did before, scrolling Star Wars style. And so you can follow along here. And again, just pause wherever you need to. I'll make sure you can see all of them. We'll go slowly here. Let's try to make it so it's not fast enough that it'll get blurry if you pause. Okay, thank you, scholars. Thanks for watching, and as always, if you have any questions, be sure you send me an email, and I will help you as soon as I can. Thanks, and I will see you guys next time.